Welcome to the New Teacher Talk podcast.
We are helping you find your passion,
Learn your craft,
and share your successes.
Welcome, everybody.
How's it going, Pablo?
It's going great. How you doing, Wes?
Doing well.
What do we have on the docket?
You know what? We have a great episode today. We're going to talk about the value of preparation. And I think the title of the episode that you so beautifully composed is The Prepared Teacher is a Successful Teacher.
Boom. That is it. Hey, by the way.
Yes, sir.
Episode number 30.
This is episode
Welcome
30.
to the jungle.
That's
right. Woo. I'm pumped. I don't even know what it means, but it doesn't matter. We're at number 30. That's pretty cool.
So in celebration of number 30, would you go to iTunes?
Okay, hold up.
Yes, I'm going to modify.
Okay,
I'm going to modify the instructions.
Thank you very much.
Because I remember last time you're like, that's great that people write a review. Wait, what is it? What's the part?
That's right. Give us a 5-star review.
Give us a 5-star
review.
Rating.
A rating. That's the difference.
Yes. So we have 17 ratings.
We're a mess.
We're doing fine.
Okay.
It's a Monday.
Get to it.
We have 17 ratings, but not as many reviews where you write us feedback. And we love that and we value that. Is that the part I'm supposed to promote?
That's good. We're missing
There's
something.
one more.
You don't know what it is.
I don't.
I need all of you, please. And I'm begging a little bit.
We're begging.
To subscribe as well.
Oh, that's it.
We need you to subscribe.
That's it.
We've been asking for ratings and reviews, but not subscriptions. We'd love for you to be notified well, I guess I don't know if it notifies you, but you just come back.
It shows up.
It does.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have you on the weekly.
Yes.
On the Pablo and Wes show.
Yes.
And New Teacher Talk. All right, let's get into it. Teachers being prepared. How important is it?
Well, I can tell you this. Yes. In my life, when I don't prepare, I have a higher level of anxiety and stress and worry, and I'm not as mentally as sharp and attentive to my students. So I think one of the areas that preparation pays off is you're able to kind of tune into and refine that feedback loop so you're actually paying attention to your students. That's where my head goes to first is the actual the interaction, the feedback loop. That to me is the most important part of teaching. It doesn't matter if my students produce all this work. If I never look at it and give them feedback, then I've missed the point of the teacher-student interaction. So for me, when I prepare, I'm getting kind of like my bases covered.
Sure. So
I can free up that mental space to really tune into how students are doing with the material, even their affect, how they're feeling emotionally in the lesson. It makes me, I don't know why I was thinking of a football player. It makes me like a running back. Football season started. Fantasy football
started.
Yeah,
we're doing great.
Okay.
Not
all right.
That's for another day.
But I think of myself like a running back. When I'm prepared, if I come up against an obstacle, I spin and I get my footing under me because I've prepared for options. I've prepared the content. I've prepared the lesson. I've prepared for differentiation. I've prepared for multiple modalities.
Wow.
Show's over. Stop me.
That's good enough. Yeah, so I want to take it back a little bit further. We were talking about this before we started it, and that's maybe like as a new teacher, what it felt like to prepare.
Ooh.
Not really preparing for your own class before that. Like you get your class. Sure, maybe as a student teacher, you might do a little preparation, and even for a semester, you might prepare for the teacher that you're studying under. But once you get that class, it's a little bit of a different ballgame.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of other things you have to get ready for. So I just remember, and I think it was like 4:00 wake ups in the morning and heading off to my school in Santa Ana, but. It didn't feel like it because you were talking about it earlier, I just wanted to be ready.
Yeah.
I wanted to be ready for, as much as possible, eliminate as many variables as possible.
Yeah.
You're not going to eliminate them all, especially if you're middle school, you're going to have a 6 to 7 period day, where in elementary, you're going to have the students all day. But nonetheless, there's a lot more room for, I guess, error when you have classes every hour, so to speak, just because there's more students. Per se, where you can't make it up to them later in the day. They're gone after 50 minutes. So being prepared and getting your lesson plans ready and just just making sure that you're being attentive to all of the needs of the students throughout the day, and knowing that you're going to have a varied, I don't know, not a varied system, but a varied audience every period if you're in middle school, or you're going to have a little bit more redemption time in the day, because if you make those mistakes that you were prepared for, but yet you got to kind of, I guess, bob and weave.
Yeah.
Kind of what you were talking about. Maybe that's boxing. I don't know. But it's on my head.
It's good.
But
Football,
the idea
boxing.
is, but the theme here is to be prepared. And in my first year, I came early, I stayed late, and then I was still working at home.
Yeah,
and it just seems
for
like
sure.
that happens for the first couple of years at least.
Yeah. Well said.
Blew you away, huh?
Blew me away. You know what? I was just thinking about those steps. It's interesting, like our two kind of takes on the topic of preparedness. Like I went more towards the benefits of preparedness, and then like you, like when you were talking, I was thinking about, it's like all of a sudden you are doing all the cooking for your family. And so the preparedness is like the mental, like making the list.
Sure.
Taking stock of what you have in the shelves, in the pantry, going to the store, purchasing those items, organizing them in your refrigerator on your counters. And then finally, like that lesson is like the cooking and then serving it to, there's so many steps involved when you think about that.
Dang.
And
Analogy, master?
I have to cook tonight when I get home.
Wow.
That's where my head's at.
Nice. I love it.
But I think of that preparedness, like there's a lot of time involved and a lot of steps. And sometimes we think of like the quote unquote lesson plan or maybe the materials.
Sure.
But there's a lot more involved. What are some of the things that you think you could prepare for that are not maybe necessarily like the lesson plan proper? Like what comes to mind in terms of preparing for a good lesson that's not?
Yeah, I think one of the things that immediately comes to mind is engagement and interaction. It might not be about necessarily the lesson, because you could sit up in front of a class and talk all day. And I guess you don't have to call on anybody. You get through it. Maybe you feel good because you spoke for 30 to 40 minutes. And sometimes it's necessary, but if you break it up and you allow kids opportunities to, one, respond whole group, or two, respond in, smaller groups or pairs, but everybody an opportunity to speak on whatever it is that you're trying to allow them to synthesize. I think that's my preparation, is giving them seat time to think. And interact. So, and that has nothing to do specifically with the lesson, but I think it allows them, I don't know. I feel like it allows them so much time and so much, and not huge effort. Like you can speak a couple words, or you don't have to, but at least you have opportunities. And everybody gets opportunities, instead of the same kid that's going to raise his hand because he knows everything.
Here's a great analogy, another analogy to go along with that. Kind of the idea of like, if you don't plan for that, structuring that engagement, you'll get the kid who's always answering. So it's like a football coach preparing with the players. I always kind of come back to this analogy of like, as teachers and definitely as administrators, we're not in the game. Like we want to coach the players, which are our students, to perform. We're not going to take the state standardized test for them. We're not going to go out on the job interview for them. We want them to play. So you have to prepare those moments for them to engage. And how does this sound? What if a football coach, play after play, after play after play, gave the ball to the same player every single time? And that's what sometimes happens in our classroom, is like you ask a question, there's some moments of silence. The know-it-all student, I use those words kindly. Their hand is up there. They want the affirmation. They have the knowledge. But if the teacher is always handing that off to them, you're not going to survive in terms of being competitive as a team. Right. And the correlation for the students in the classroom is they're really not going to rise to the level that they need to be competitive in the world. Right. So it's exactly like you said, you need to prepare those moments and be a good coach and say, okay, we're passing the ball off to this section. I haven't heard from Like even think about gender equality. I haven't heard from as many girls or guys as I think I should. I should be paying attention to that. So preparing with that mindset of we're going to get this ball moving around the room. Everyone's going to have a chance to interact. I love that tip about preparing for engagement. And it's so much more fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more fun to watch the game than try to do it all.
Absolutely, it is, and that's where you become. I'm not going to say I hate it, but the guide on the side or the facilitator, or there was a good one last year.
The guide on the ride.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The guide on the ride. That's a good one too. But the idea also is preparation doesn't mean that you're trying to put in for every mishap that may happen.
Yeah.
I think you're preparing for those moments where they're learning opportunities for kids, because we want them. We're preparing to allow them to fail, right? And we need to give them those opportunities, because if everything's always perfect, we know that life is not perfect out there. It's a tough world, and those are the types of things that I think we need to prepare the students for. So it's much more than just preparing for your lessons and the things that are going to happen inside of the classroom. It's what's going to happen after they leave your classroom or whatever. It's preparing them by allowing them to fail, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. I always think of the word allow, which you just used. The opposite of that is deny. So would you deny your students the opportunity, those moments to engage with powerful learning? You actually have to prepare to give up control and allow them to experience it. And sometimes that means they don't hit it out of the park the first time or second time or third time. Why should they? They're students, they're learning. They should be on a continuum, moving toward that goal. So I found out there's a saying, I don't know if it's true or but Gandhi, I think, said, if somebody says I don't have 5 minutes to meditate, then they actually should meditate for 10. Kind of with that idea of meditation being a time alone by yourself preparing for the day. Or he might have said, on days when I don't have an hour to meditate, I must take 2. And so the idea of kind of condensing down like what is busy work and what is essential work, and sometimes that space of being kind of mentally focused instead of just like, oh, I'm just going to grade all these essays. Sorry, former English teacher flashback. Instead of just focusing on the busy thing, like I could spend all Sunday afternoon grading essays, and my students I may know they're not going to look at it. There's no chance to rewrite. The feedback may not be effective. I might be better served shifting towards planning for what are the engagement opportunities that we're going to have on Monday. So that idea of kind of that prioritization, is that a word? Of that opportunity for silence and reflection and putting your time into the things that are going to have the most impact. I mean, grading is probably a sore subject for me.
Yeah.
I carried so many papers back and forth home, school to home, home to school, without grading them, just because I was exhausted at the end of the day, and I would eventually catch up on the weekend. But yeah, so finding that time to really be kind of quiet and still and reflect on what will make the biggest difference in my students' lives, in their learning, in their growth.
Right. I mean, I think you bring up a very valid concern that we have, at least in the United States, as far as whether it be grading or assigning homework, and how that actually plays out on all aspects. So if we're talking about being a prepared teacher, I think we're talking also about being a high quality teacher. And when you're a high quality teacher, I don't necessarily think you're stuck grading a bunch of papers. I think sometimes that not that it makes you feel good, but that you're working.
Yeah.
So you are working for your students, but by the time they get those papers back, more than likely it's you know they've lost some time. And how do we fix that though? How do we fix that? Is it more of a formative thing where you mentioned just rewrites after rewrites until they get it right?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Why is it the all or none aspect? Does that mean they learned anything? So I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I'm more apt to go the other way, the latter there, and that's to give them opportunities.
Absolutely.
To revisit their work, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And I think both you and I probably fall on the side of having a more conversational approach to feedback versus a written approach. I can't think of a piece of written feedback that's mattered in my life. But when I think about key moments in my formation, in whether it's my intellect or my spiritual development or emotional development, it's conversations I've had with people who cared about me. And that includes teachers who were talking to me about the content. It was absolutely about, hey, Wes, did you ever think about this? It wasn't a written comment on a paper, or it wasn't a number in the grade book.
That's great. I mean, I'm saddened if I think back at my teaching career when I was in the classroom, that I only picked up on some of this the last maybe, I don't know, 4 to 5 years. I was doing some other quality things, but I think I was starting to really round into shape. And those last 4 years or so, and part of it was having more discussions about student performance, and not just academic performance. That is preparing students also for social and emotional performance, I guess, in school and outside of school. And so together that made, you're teaching the whole child. You're being a little bit more holistic. And I don't know, those are things you can prepare for, but you have to actually be intentional and think about these things. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. And I get it, though. When you're a new teacher, you do have a lot of things coming at you, and you're starting to, you prepare as good as you can.
Yeah. I have another take on preparation that just came to me, and that's, for example, like I had a very good experience getting my master's degree. It was through UC Irvine. They have a summer master's program for English teachers, and the depth and the sophistication and the rigor and the kind of quality of thought that the professors demanded of us and in our writing really helped me improve as a teacher of English literature and composition. And so that I took time to prepare by studying. And so that was like a different approach. It wasn't what I was really thinking when we talked about the topic.
Sure.
But then a lot of time I've been in other grad programs, graduate study programs that can't say it, that they really fulfilled that level of quality. And they were more busy work than being prepared.
I feel like maybe that professor or that teacher prepared once, but never looked back at that preparation again and felt that it was good enough. So, sometimes you got to dust off the PowerPoints and maybe look at them a little bit and see if that preparation, which was good 10 years ago, is it still good today? Like we always say that every student that you get in your classroom is a blessing and is unique.
Yeah.
And so maybe your lessons should be unique and be prepared.
Yeah. Love it.
How about it, buddy? It's a good day. You got
we're good.
Else?
Anything else to add? Let's see. In terms of preparation, I mean, I really think there's a lot to be said, and probably not enough said for preparing emotionally, because teaching is hard, and you get discouraged, and you get students who are having a bad day, or just they're having a tough life, and they're not. It's not a priority for them to make your job easier. Right. And so just preparing emotionally, finding those things that make you come in and focus on the positives, have that growth mindset. I think those are valuable practices. We talked about before, journaling, meditation, all those things help you kind of get the ground fertile for you to, grow into a powerful and productive teacher.
Yeah, taking care of yourself. I mean, we've talked about kind of just winning the day kind of thing. And some of those, you've already mentioned them, but, keep eating right and exercising. All that matters in the long grind of a year.
Take care of you, people.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, we good?
Yeah, we're good.
We're prepared.
We're prepared for anything.
I need you to prepare to subscribe, to write us a 5-star. Wait a minute.
Review.
Write us a review
and give us a 5-star
rating. That's it. Ratings, reviews, and subscriptions.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Hey, we appreciate you all. Thank you. And until next time.
Peace.
Connect with us on social media at Pablo and Wes.
On Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and all the podcast places on the web like
iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Overcast.
And remember to get your free special gift at
pabloandwes.com/gift. Yay!